Treksploration.
Hello, Treksplorers, and welcome back to Treksploration. I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris.
And we are here to talk to you about Star Trek The Next Generation. And this episode that we were talking about this time is Code of Honor.
Code of Honor. I am freshly Code of Honored. So a lot to talk about with this one. It's nice to sort of get back into the groove. We've been on such a disco kick lately that we've left TNG behind, but we are now all caught up with New Trek, and we can get back to our mission statement, which is TNG as laid out by Albie. That was what you wanted to do. And how's it feel to be back in the saddle with your favorite iteration of the franchise?
It feels really good. It never really leaves my heart. Even when we're watching and talking about disco, I'm thinking about Next Gen, because that's where I exist. You know, I exist here in the Next Generation.
Do you mean Next Gen, or do you mean in this era?
I think this era, yeah.
Okay.
Next Gen, Voyager, Deep Space Nine. That's where I exist. Okay. I unfortunately, my ship blew up. I lost my wife. She was under a beam. I couldn't rescue her, but luckily I saved my son. But that's where I exist. I exist here. I tried to explain it to like these temporal wormhole aliens that were. It's a long story.
They don't get it.
Yeah,
they don't understand linear time.
Maybe if I explain baseball to them, they'll get it. But that's for another show.
Well, I'm not going to help you with that because you're notoriously dickish when we get out onto the ball field. You're an unreasonable monster.
This is true. I keep trying to be the umpire, but they don't understand it when I'm the umpire. But long story. But the sand is hot. Okay, so today we're talking about Code of Honor, which is Star Trek: The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 4. We'll give some details, and we'll talk about it before we talk about it. The original air date was October 12th, 1987. The writer was Catherine Powers and Michael Barron, I would say. Okay, Barron. Directed by Russ Mayberry and Les Landau, 2 directors.
Yeah, I read about this on Memory Alpha, and I remember hearing about it on a podcast. It was probably Mission Log because they go deep dive. But Russ Mayberry left in the middle of filming. I don't know if he left or if he was fired, and Les Landau had to take over and finish it, and he's uncredited. And I read that on Memory Alpha, though.
Okay, this is the first I'm hearing about this, and maybe that will help me understand a little bit later on when we talk about the episode and the inconsistencies. Okay. Before we give the episode synopsis, did you want to do that first, or do we want to talk about what we're going to talk about?
Oh, I mean, why don't I'll give you the episode synopsis, even though this episode is somewhat infamous, but just so that we can let everybody know.
It's infamous?
I think
it's so famous that it's infamous?
It's infamous. It's so famous, it's infamous. So for those who don't recall, Season 1, Episode 4, Code of Honor, deals with this. The Enterprise travels to Lingon 2 to negotiate a treaty to obtain a vaccine needed to cure a deadly plague on Styrus 4. The Lingonians feign friendliness, but the Lingonian leader Lutan becomes fascinated by Lieutenant Tasha Yar and kidnaps her. Now Picard must figure out how to rescue Yar without breaking the Prime Directive, while still securing the much-needed vaccine. So.
There will be no treaty, no vaccine, and no Lieutenant Ya!
And we've all been waiting for that. Thank you.
One of my favorite lines from the episode. I mess it up sometimes, but I just love that whole delivery of that line.
Well, I like your delivery better than the delivery on screen. I heard you saying it as he was saying it, and I was like, Albie kind of does it better.
I've had years of practice. He probably had a day and a half.
I don't know. You're just much more. I don't know. There's more stridency in your voice. I don't know.
He's more. It's evolved over the years. I'd say he's a better actor than me, though. I think he was better cast than me at the time. I think I was 15, something like that. 14. All right. Before we talk about this episode, you mentioned that it's so famous, it's infamous. I don't believe I want to talk and concentrate on what has become most talked about of this episode right now, which is how our current culture views it and thinks about it. And I don't think we are the people to talk about that. Being 2 white males, it's just not. it's not our place to talk about it. It's our place to listen to others that talk about it and understand what they're saying, I think.
Right. I know that you want to be delicate here, but I mean, this is basically known as the racist episode. I think even Frakes has called it a racist piece of shit.
Yeah.
And there are many discussions to be had about that aspect of this episode, all of them valid. But like you said, I don't know if our forum is the place to discuss that aspect of this episode. Anyway, not unless we had some kind of expert or something on the show with us to help guide us through
Right.
that discussion. Plus, I feel like it's been done on many other shows by in much better ways than I think that we'd be able to frame it.
Right. Google it. Watch some videos on YouTube about it. One I can recommend and point you to is the Seventh Rule podcast, which was started with Sarah Lofton, Jake Sisko, and Eric Eisenberg, Nog, and then after Aaron Eisenberg passed away, the producer became the co-host, Ryan T. Husk. And the Seventh Rule covers that episode really well with Denise Crosby on there on the show itself. So that they literally someone who is there and people that have better perspective on it than us. So if you're interested in finding out more about why this is such a reviled episode, I think that's the place to go. And I don't want to just do what everyone else has done talking about this episode. I want to talk more about the production of it, and the things that we can find in it that maybe we like, or just our general feeling on it. And I just don't want to spend the whole episode rehashing something that everyone has talked about ad nauseum. Does that make sense, Chris? Are you okay with that?
I'm fine with it. As I said when I signed on to Treksploration, you're the host, so I'll just follow your lead. And if that's the discussion you want to have or not have, I'm fine with that. As a matter of fact, I'm a little bit more comfortable this way.
Okay. If stuff comes up, it comes up, but we're not going to concentrate on that part, I think.
Gotcha.
And I hope everyone's okay with that. And feel free to, say anything you want, Chris, and feel free to comment. Everybody below, comment below, what your thoughts on the episode are and how you feel. And we'll get through this together. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. So with that, Christopher D. Philippus, Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 4, Code of Honor, First Impressions.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a pile of crap.
I
remember watching this. Now, I'm not in the next gen sphere, so I quite frankly didn't know much about Code of Honor or its reputation until I did my chronological rewatch. And I watched the episode and then I started reading about it because I don't like to go in knowing too much of what other people think because I don't want it to cloud what I think of it. It's the same reason why I don't listen to other podcasts about a show that I'm covering until I've covered that episode of a show because I don't want to be influenced by other people's ideas of what it is. So I'm not going to say I was surprised by the reputation that this episode had, but I can say that that is one of just many problems that I have with the episode. And there are so many to focus on. We'll just take them as they come. But it was every reason why 17-year-old me was like, next gen, nope. and then I moved on. So, and I don't even remember seeing this one when it originally aired. I may have, I may not have. I don't think I did. Like I said, I never made it really past the Naked Now. And then I just stopped watching. So yeah, in many ways, watching it for this show tonight is basically the second time I've ever seen the episode. And it did not improve on its second viewing. How about you? What are your first impressions?
This is probably my 20th viewing because I've gone through Next Gen just so many times and I'm not going to skip an episode. Interesting first impressions. My first impressions of this episode is I understand what they were trying to do. The moral lesson I think in this episode is don't judge other cultures based on your own culture. And I think that's a good message. And I like the music. I like the visuals. The director of photography is probably pretty good in this. I want to talk about the directing, but it never like I never realized watching it was supposed to be a bad episode until lately when I've heard it was supposed to be a bad episode.
Wow. I think somebody's trying to tell you something, brother.
I shouldn't have lit that candle. All right. So I didn't understand it was supposed to be a bad episode. So to me, for most of my life, it wasn't a bad episode. It wasn't a great episode. It was just an episode. And I enjoyed a lot of the acting in it. I think the main guest star was really good. I like Patrick Stewart's acting in this episode. I like the lesson of, don't judge another culture by your culture, which I think that's what they were trying to get at. Yeah, and
I don't think so. I'm sorry. You finish your thoughts, but go ahead.
Okay. And it was also a Prime Directive episode. But the irony of this episode being judged by a different culture, which is how many years later? It's a different time. The irony isn't lost on me, but it's not the greatest. But I don't skip it.
Okay. I mean, I have a lot to respond to with that.
Okay.
But before we have our fight to the death over what we think of this episode, why don't we just tell people how they can find us and tell us what they think about the episode? As always, we encourage everybody to see us. All of our main stuff is on our Patreon site. That's patreon.com/Treksplration. You can also reach us on Instagram at instagram.com/TreksplorationPod. You can X us at Treksploration. You can email us, TreksplorationPod@gmail.com. And you can always comment on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Treksplloration. We have many, many avenues for you to tell us what you think of this episode. The bonus stuff that we have on the Patreon site, though, I think makes it worth going over there to look. You can join as a free member, and you'll get access to some of our stuff, and you'll see all the other stuff that's available as we build this Treksploration beast from the ground up. As we've been doing, we're really working hard, and we want you guys to enjoy everything that we're doing. So that's patreon.com/Treksplloration. And we want to thank our current list of Treksplorers who have supported us on Patreon. We have Cadet Scott Seligman. Hi, Scott. Our Lieutenant Commanders, Cosplay Dad, One of All, and Fantasy Fan. And our Captain, Charles from Texas. Hello, Charles from Texas. Thank you, one and all, for your continued support, Captain on the Bridge, and to everybody who's over there on the Patreon feed, and to everybody that's reaching out to us on all of our other channels. Thank you so much for listening and sharing and subscribing.
One benefit of being on our Patreon is you get the audio podcast, and that's like a Patreon exclusive for right now, at least.
Yeah.
You get all the episodes in audio form, so you can listen to them on the go.
And I have to say that is a lifesaver for me, because I find it very difficult to find time to sit and watch a YouTube show. And my show with you is no exception. But Patreon feed of the podcast version of this, I listen because I love podcasts. So if you're like me and you prefer a podcast over a video show, you can get that there on our Patreon site. And that has made all the difference for me in being able to listen back and to, remember everything that we've discussed up until this point. Otherwise, I'd have been like, that was a show we did 3 weeks ago. I still haven't had a chance to watch it. Oh, okay. So.
Well, I love your voice, and I love the sound of my voice, and I love us talking together. So I'll listen to the audio as I go about my day as well.
Yeah. So we did get some response on the YouTube channel for our last TNG episode, which was The Naked Now. And it comes from our Lieutenant Commander Fantasy Fan. Fantasy Fan writes, Commander, to me, this was one of the best episodes of the first season. Really? The Naked Now? Do you think Data took advantage of Tasha? Didn't Picard tell him to take her to sickbay? In her current situation, you would think there really was no consent. At least Riker did the right thing with Deanna. Anyhow, I'm still puzzled why Data was infected by the virus. He shouldn't have been. I think it would have infected Worf in time, but it would have taken longer. Klingons have great resistance and great honor, maybe, unless you're what's a Lursa or
Romulan,
Bator. Yeah, unless you're
Atak, a Doras sister.
a Duras. Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the Durases. Unless you're a
Yeah.
Duras. Thank you, Duras
I
dumbass.
thank you so much, Lieutenant Commander Fantasy Fan, for this feedback. One of the best episodes. I really enjoyed The Naked Now as a kid, and I still do. I'm still a kid. You think Data took advantage of Tasha? There's two schools of thought on this, and it kind of ties in with this episode. I'm sure we'll talk about that in the future. I'm not sure that Data took advantage of Tasha. Did Tasha take advantage of Data? Did they take advantage of each other, or were they both consenting? Tasha, of course, has the history of the sexual abuse and trauma, so that is a thing. Data is very young, I think, at this point, and inexperienced. So I don't know. I think even though what Tasha has been through, I think she has the right to choose her partners. And if they're both consenting and both adults, I think it's okay. That's my opinion. And didn't Picard tell him to take her to sickbay? He should have followed orders. He did not follow orders.
But at this point, he was infected too, so he was compromised. He was compromised. I look at it this way:
can two parties that are inebriated take advantage of each other?
See, to me, that's the rub of this whole thing, because the Naked Now gets it wrong, and it makes them all drunk. So yeah, where there is impairment, like inebriation, being drunk, then maybe you have a question of motivation and whether or not somebody is in their right mind, like cognizant enough to realize what's happening. If you look at it from the point of view that I always saw the original series Naked Time episode, where it just throws down your inhibitions, not like in an impaired way, but brings out the things in you that are either great fears or great desires or great regrets or great longings, brings buried stuff out to the surface, then I feel like you're acting with more agency, but it's something that you've always wanted to do, but felt you couldn't, that you've always repressed. And now those fetters have been removed and you can explore some of this stuff. So I don't know where Tasha's head at is in here, but I find the episode works vis-a-vis consent if you look at it from that point of view, as opposed to they're just out of their minds and they don't really know what's going on, and therefore you can take advantage of them. It's a question of agency, and I see the TOS version has more agency in it as opposed to the way they played it here in TNG. But if it's the same virus or a similar virus, I'm going to frame it with the agency.
For my general purpose in my own life, if only one party was intoxicated, it's a no-go. If it's a first time, it's a no-go. If you're in a committed, loving relationship and both of you are intoxicated, then that's a different story. But yeah, I think that's just, general politeness. Riker did do the right thing. I think that's because he loves her and cared about her and also visited Holodeck 3 earlier that day. Why was Data infected? Yeah, I don't understand either. I think the reason Worf wasn't infected was because what you said. Not many people are touching Worf. Yeah. People are not going to walk up to Worf and go brush his hair aside and go, "How are you doing, my friend?"
So. I think that they maybe made Data infected, number one, so that Brent could have some fun.
Yeah,
number two,
so funny.
To give it some comedic aspects, but maybe as well to show you that Data is more complex than just a mechanical man. Right. Like he's made of deeper stuff. And if it can affect him the way it affects a human, then there's no telling where this character can go. It's not going to just be a robot trying to emulate a human. It's going to be somebody that is capable of maybe attaining something someday, because he has some of the same flaws. He has some of the same vulnerabilities. So that's the way, again, I choose to look at why Data was infected.
And for me, it informs a lot of who Data is, which I think was one of the reasons this episode was designed, was to let you know who these characters are. But that Data is almost because when he's infected, he's smiling and having fun and joking around. And I think that's who he is. And I think all the other stuff that we see, this robot man, I think that's his mask that he wears. So
I mean, we could talk about Data all day long, and
I will
come to different conclusions. I don't know if I agree with you on that, but we'll have many episodes to explore those themes. So
yeah, the Data
should be fun. Should be fun.
Okay, so we're talking about Code of Honor.
Yeah.
I was a little scared to do this episode, but I figured why not? We got to go through them, right?
It's got to come up in the rundown sometime, right?
Yeah, eventually. Just happens to be what, the third, fourth episode.
Yeah. So, I mean, to get back to something that you had said earlier about this show being about how they needed to learn to respect another culture, and that was sort of the lesson of the episode. I find that the episode is the complete opposite. I feel like Lutan pulled a fast one, and he was manipulating what he saw as a weakness in Federation values and norms in order to, number one, I guess, get something that maybe he desired in Yar, but number two, so that he could set up this whole thing on his planet to put himself into more power. It was very calculated. And I think that he counted on the fact that Picard's hands to some extent would be tied. And I think the episode wasn't so much about learning to respect other cultures as it was about the Federation and the crew realizing that the Prime Directive is really limiting what they might be able to do here, and trying to find a way around this problem, to solve this problem, despite the culture. They don't respect the culture, but they know they need to work within the parameters of that culture if they want to adhere to their own values. So I don't think that they, at the end, say, oh, this culture is worthy, or this culture is whatever. I think that they just think we need to get around their values and mores so that we can do what's right. And that's the way I saw it. And I guess maybe that's part of the bigger theme here to me was, what if the Prime Directive comes against somebody who doesn't hold your values? So then you have to say, okay, well, our number one rule, General Order 1, we will not influence any other culture with our culture. We will respect every other culture. But what if that culture is shitty? What if that culture is just based on doing bad stuff? I mean, it's the reason that the humans and the Klingons have been at loggerheads for a century before this show takes place, because they're just so fundamentally different. The Klingons are conquerors. The Klingons are invaders. The Federation is supposed to be a peacekeeping armada that's spreading the ideals of freedom and, dare I say it, humanity, which is another issue I have with this episode. So, and then you come to, this planet that is saying, how can we use that to enrich ourselves to our advantage? We have something they need, and we know what they won't do. So, and that's where I find the real interesting part of this episode is, and the most annoying parts of the episode are. How about you?
I think it's about it's not judging others' cultures based on your own, but it's not about respecting other cultures as much. But the facade of respecting the culture was to get the vaccine and preserve the Prime Directive. But I don't think we can judge the whole culture of the Lingonian culture on Lutan. I think Lutan was definitely the villain of the episode. And it doesn't matter the culture. If it's a human rights violation, like kidnapping, it's a human rights violation. So I don't think the culture's to blame for what Lutan did, and I don't think Lutan is a good representation of the culture necessarily.
Okay, I'll buy that.
So you can have both. You can respect the different culture, but also understand that this guy is a bad guy.
Right. But see, I mean, I think the title of the episode belies his
Mm,
true intentions. It's the
okay.
code of honor. He knows that
Mhm,
he has a code that his culture adheres to that he can use to his advantage. Well, this
mhm,
is our code. This is our way. You don't dare contradict our way. Who are you to say what we do?
mhm,
But at the same time, I'm thinking, you just kidnapped a citizen of the
mhm,
Federation. There has to be some kind of consequence. And Picard is obsequious to the point of being infuriating in this
mhm,
episode. And I'm just trying to understand the first time I watched it why they're going this way.
mhm.
Why don't we have him take a more firm stand? And I did does before I go further with it, I feel like I'm soliloquizing here. Soliloquizing,
Okay, I like that.
I don't know. I'm monologuing. That's the word I'm looking
Yes,
for.
I don't mind. I like it.
I'm monologuing. Um, do you what how do you feel about Picard's reaction to all of this?
Definitely keep monologuing. I could listen to you read technical manuals all day. So, do you mean like Picard playing along with Luton and trying to act like he's cool with everything that's going on? Speaking of like the value of a woman and trying to like fit in with the culture.
No, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking
Okay.
about like when they're first discussing whether or not, they should just storm in and rescue Yor. He asks, "Well, tell me more about them. And do you believe that Tasha is in any real danger? Like basically, do you think that she's going to become a sex slave or something like that is the way I look at that. They don't say it that way, but why else
Hmm.
would he abduct a female who he admits he finds attractive?
Right.
And so I to me it's they're being too measured to a situation that warrants more immediate action. This is not
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
diplomatic dispute. This has now become a violation again of a citizen of the Federation and a
Correct.
friend and a member of the crew.
I agree.
And I feel like this is where next gen falls down for me in a lot of places. um I've long said that I can't take the cloying human ideal, which they talk about in this. It always comes back to the human factor or whatever it is, as a constant that should be applied to the rest of the galaxy or to every culture that you see. Like, we're going to bring the light of humanity to the stars and make everybody like us. I don't think that the galaxy works that way. And I think that it's hubris to think that you could go with
Sheer
your ideals. Yeah, sheer.
hubris. Yeah.
So, but so it seems to me like they're letting those ideals get in the way of practical danger. And I get it in the episode. I At the end they even say, we know we're being manipulated, but we
Mhm,
have to rise above knee jerk
mhm,
reactions. We have to rise above revenge and vengeance and look at problems in a different way. Don't solve things with force meeting force. And it comes up again and again in the first season, and it took me a long time on the rewatch I was doing before we started the show to realize that it was so deliberate a choice on Roddenberry's part to show the evolution of humanity that they don't do what you and I would do. And it
mhm,
gets to be an infuriating thing, like, why don't you go in there guns blazing and rescue your comrade?
mm.
So like I said, I feel
There,
like I'm going on and on here. So
there's a lot to talk about and discuss in what you said, and I'm listening and learning. Yeah, the Federation trying to impart their moral code on the rest of the quadrant is much like say a Christian missionary that thinks that their way is the better way and goes into a different culture and tries to change them, usually for the worse. Um, and I think Gene Roddenberry, or at least the Star Trek writers, eventually used the Borg as an analog for missionaries. Like the Borg always thought their way was better, and they were helping everyone. So that was like an analog for missionaries, like we had in our time and back then. Um, I think where this episode fails is The saying that comes up in my mind is religion is like a penis. It's fine that you have one. It's fine that you use it, but don't shove it down my throat. And I think,
Wait, what?
in other words, you
No,
do
I
what you
understand
want to
what you
do with
meant.
your culture. You want to do with your do what you want to do with your culture. But once it interferes with our culture or our people, and it affects our people, then you've gone too far. So in other words, you can do anything you want with your hands, but once they hit my face, then you've gone too far. And I think that's where this episode fails, because once Lutan abducted Tasha, that was it. The line should have been drawn here.
No further. Right.
No further. Yes. So I think that's the biggest failure in universe of this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I can say this. I don't think that I would have decided to wait them out the way that Picard does here, and there are so many other things in this episode that are just so convenient. Like the Lingonians say that, oh, your technology is vastly superior to ours. How? They have transporters. The only reason they have their own transporters is because they wouldn't have been able to abduct Yara for story purposes if they didn't have their own transporters. But in every other way, the Federation is superior. I feel like transporter technology presages warp technology, or at least some kind of advanced technology that puts them at least somewhat on par with the Federation. But no, it's just that they have transporters because reasons. And then everything else, the only thing they have is this vaccine that they're holding them over the barrel for. And that was the other thing. We need to have a reason why we don't go in guns blazing. Oh, because if we do, then we won't get the vaccine. And they make a point of it over and over again. They beat this drum that millions and billions of people are going to die on this planet unless we get this vaccine, toot sweet, and we can't replicate it because it becomes unstable. Like, why do we need them? They bend over backwards, like inventing reasons why they can't just take what they need and leave. And I'm not advocating that that's what they should do.
Right.
I'm just saying that it's like they're almost reading my mind, saying, what is stopping you from acting? Oh, well, let's throw up this obstacle and this obstacle and this obstacle.
And that's what the pickle is that they're in, because they need the vaccine. And I think this expands on more we were talking about, I think, in Encounter Farpoint about Picard, where he surrendered. When it comes to saving lives, he chooses to save lives instead of posturing or fighting or acting tough. I think if he wanted to save millions of lives by getting the vaccine, and he took the best way to get it, and I think or the shortest route to get it, other than, going in guns blazing. But I think if they did, they probably wouldn't have got the vaccine. There's, I mean, if they could have just beamed it out and left. But then that's that whole what is it, mirror, where the Mirror Enterprise, the Terran Empire Enterprise, just wants to take whatever they're trying to get off the planet, but Kirk in our universe is trying to negotiate for it and not take it by force. So I think this is another example of that, but different and twisted. I don't blame Picard for what he was doing, but it's like, do you sacrifice your officer to save millions of lives? So it's a moral dilemma that he had to go through. So I think he was trying to do the best he could with what he had.
Well, I'll buy that. Yeah, I understand. And I'm not saying that Picard did the wrong thing. I'm saying I disagree with his methods here. Okay. And I again, it begs the question, where does the Prime Directive become a liability? And if it is a liability, what if it's a choice between a culture dying or your crew dying? Well, Starfleet is always like, well, then the crew dies. That's what happens. But what if it's just an affront? What if it's just a criminal act like this? Then you just sacrifice your crew. I mean, we're going to get a little bit more of this later on in another episode that I think takes a much different tack. We'll get there. We'll get there.
That's another reason this episode exists, though, is because to set up for new viewers probably that aren't familiar with the original series what the Prime Directive is, because before they break the Prime Directive, they have to establish the Prime Directive, maybe.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, I never considered that point because to us, the Prime Directive is so ubiquitous. When you think of Trek, it's one of the first things you think of after a Vulcan nerve pinch or a mind meld. The Prime Directive, General Order 1. So I feel like we all know what it is, and I'll give it props for this. At least it's presenting it in a way that the Prime Directive is not just this cure-all panacea for great relations, how it can be problematic, how it can fetter what it is that you're trying to get done in for the sake of an ideal. And I think that's good meaty territory. I mean, unfortunately, it's just wrapped up in this episode that's a pile of shit. So
Well, it's difficult because I think the Prime Directive, yes, but once Tasha was abducted, that would have been it. That is an act of war, and if you do not say, if Lieutenant does not say, "Whoopsies, I'm sorry, I didn't understand your culture views this as an act of war. Here's Tasha back." Give them the opportunity to give her back right away. If they don't, then go in and get her. And then once you have your person back, then go to the negotiation table. Explain your culture, explain what they did wrong for your culture, because the Ligonian culture is no more superior or inferior to the Federation culture. But once they took Tasha, I think Picard should have drew the line. But then you wouldn't have a story because you wouldn't have the fight scene.
Yeah, I don't know if that would have been a bad thing. I see, here's where I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but it's clear that again, Lieutenant is playing them from the beginning, because
he's the bad guy, he's the villain.
Yeah, and he is saying to Picard, "Oh, well, you come down here, you have to ask for her back." And Picard is enlightened enough to say, "If that's sure." There's no pride here. You know what?
Right,
We'll go to your dumb ritual, and I will ask formally for her back so that you can have your honor and everything is sustained. And then my crewman is back, and I can save the people. I can save Tasha. No harm done. We'll never come back here again. But thanks. See ya. And then he does all that in good faith, and Lieutenant betrays him again. So at that point, they're still dicking around about what to do. It's like you realize that this guy's never going to give you an even shake. He's never going to do. And then it gets to a point where, well, then I challenge her to a duel to the death because Lieutenant says that he loves her all of a sudden. So he's playing his first mate, his first woman, whatever they call it on the planet. First one. I don't know.
Lieutenant is her first one. I don't know. Yeah. I don't understand their culture. I'm trying.
But again, he's manipulating everybody around him because I guess if he gets rid of that first one, he gets all of her land because the women own the land on this planet. That's all they're good for, and and he gets Yar. So it's very amok time. It's very T'Pring when you think about it because he's got angles coming and going, and right down to the fight to the death.
I think, what I think of when I watch this episode is if Chris Pinekirk were in this same situation, he would have done exactly what Picard did up until they didn't give Tasha back when they were supposed to. Then he would have said, "You know what, F this," and then did the adventure and the J.J. Abrams of it all. So.
But I can't understand why they would let it escalate to the point where now that Yarina is driving the action, now they have to step back again and let their crewmate potentially die in a battle to the death. This is not like Spock going back to Vulcan where it's an ancient Vulcan ritual with two Vulcans saying this is what we want to do, and then Kirk gets dragooned into it. This is now, because of circumstances that you created by your double dealing and your duplicitousness, my crew member who has already been put in harm's way and been abducted now has to fight to the death to satisfy some cultural bullshit on your side. And we're still letting this stand. What?
Now, didn't Tasha volunteer to fight for the vaccine?
I don't recall. I just know that it strains credulity at every step. The way this episode escalates, it's just like, come on. Oh, there's no line here. Okay. again, no further. Oh no, we can go further. Yeah, no, there's just no end. And I don't know if that's because they need to have this fight scene, or
I'm trying to put myself in Picard's position. His options ahead of us is no vaccine and millions of people die. No Lieutenant Yar, and but millions of people survive, or trying to find the third option where he gets Yar back and saves all the millions of people with the vaccine.
By putting Yar in harm's way with poisoned lethal weapons.
Yes, and I think he trusts Yar's ability.
That's great, but Yar shouldn't have. What if it was Deanna? They set it up so that they kidnap the fighter, and again, that's more like plot mechanics there, because they see that she can fight in the holodeck, and she flips the guy on in the shuttle bay after they beam in, and so it's just like they set it up that she's a fighter. That's what attracts them originally, because she's not just some docile woman. But what if he had taken a shine to Deanna, and they decided to? Would Deanna be expected to fight to the death with Beverly?
I think Picard would have went in and just, not even guns blazing, they would just beam him up.
Yeah,
if they could, or whatever, go in like on Enterprise disguised as one of them. That would have been a lot worse, and and rescue them. But it was Tasha. I never made the Amok Time connection, but now that you say it, even with it's the same thing as a fight to the death, and then somebody dying, or apparently dying, but in this case, really dying, and then being brought back, or being knocked out and then brought back. I never made that connection, so maybe that is like a copy paste from Amok Time. Maybe they tried to do Amok Time, their version of Amok Time, with a different moral message or meaning in it.
I guess, and I think what might have happened too is I made the connection during the fight sequence, because a lot of the music stings, a lot of the cues were very TOS like, and when I was researching for the rundown, the person who scored this was a composer named Fred Steiner, who wrote many scores for the original series, and according to Memory Alpha, he was the only composer to work on both series. So
interesting.
So I feel like a lot of the aesthetics of this episode and some of the sensibilities were very TOS heavy. So it just jived. I didn't think about that the first time I watched the episode, but as I was watching it this second time, it became readily apparent that this is somewhat of a riff on Amok Time.
Okay, yeah, I love seeing that. Now I want to watch it again with that in mind. And I didn't notice the music because I think I have Amok Time basically playing in the background of my mind all the time.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't think there is any more iconic Trek music besides the 5 notes in the beginning of the main theme than the fight music from Amok Time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. Man, so many things going on. Okay, so that's the main big plot of what's going on. Let's talk a little bit more about it when it has to do with, now that you mentioned there's 2 different directors. I had no idea. This makes a lot of sense to me, because one of the things I wanted to talk about is I think it must have been shot out of order, because Tasha in half the scenes is giving Lutan the signals, at many signals, right? And in other scenes, and they're like randomly spaced, she's very cold towards him. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. So now I understand, maybe one director had one idea of how Tasha should look at Lutan, and the other director had a different idea. So it'd be interesting to find out more about what happened there, and what happened behind the scenes. But Tasha was definitely giving Lutan the signals, like in the observation lounge. She was basically undressing him with her eyes, and she was doing the sway and the wiggle that she does.
I didn't notice. I didn't notice any of that.
But when they're in the holodeck, a keto fight, totally cold towards him, not even interested in him one bit.
Well, so, maybe because she's on duty, and she's like in an official capacity, showing them. So she's in a different mode.
Okay, it just seemed very, very contrasting to me.
Yeah, and it could be that one director thought it should be one way, another director thought it should be another way, and I, yeah, I don't know if that's even makes the episode even more unforgivable. I'm glad I did notice that, because I think I would have had just something else to be aggravated over.
This episode does have good things in it, though, and that's why I don't think it should be thrown in the trash pile. I think if anything, they should do what they do with like Gone with the Wind and have an expert, introduction before it and explain it and what it is and when it was and why it's still important. But this is what we know now that we didn't know then, which I think Turner Classic Movies and the Blu-ray does for Gone with the Wind. But
I think we sort of knew it then, because the director left.
And
I think if you listen to Denise on the Seventh Rule, she's all of us were looking at each other saying, "Oh, we are actually filming this, huh? I guess okay, I guess we're gonna do it." So
and they thought it would never air.
But you're saying, like, you keep on alluding to the fact that we looked at it through a different lens back then, and I think it was just more permissible to ignore what we all knew was wrong back then.
The people in charge looked at it differently. I think they were an older generation. That,
like I said, so permissible to ignore what we all know is wrong about it.
Right.
That's the way I see that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But like I said, there was good things about this episode. We have one of our first scenes of the friendship of Geordi and Data with the shaving scene and the joke scene. So that was a good thing. We have Wesley's first time really taking the con on the bridge and becoming almost a member of the bridge crew.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like a lot of that stuff felt shoehorned in because it was so tonally disparate from the crisis at hand. And I understand you want to build the ensemble and you want to, I mean, Wesley. The entire first season is all Wes. It's Wes's season,
which I love.
Yeah, and I don't mind. I like Wes as a character. Yes. I've grown to really like Wes as a character as I've gotten to know this entire ensemble cast. So that doesn't annoy me so much. It just seemed very clunky to drop this stuff in that's so comparatively light when you're talking about a vaccine that needs to save 1 billion people from certain death and people being kidnapped, potentially fighting to the death, and otherwise being dealt with very poorly, dangerously. And now we're talking about Geordi shaving and Data telling 600 jokes.
Well, including the Kiddlies. Yeah. I think those scenes, like the two I just mentioned, they could have fit in any episode in season 1, and they might have been filmed separately and just put in that episode for filler. Possibly they didn't have enough to make it long enough. The episode
could be,
but it definitely did seem out of place. Although Wesley comes up on the turbo lift with Beverly, and Beverly's going into the ready room to talk to Picard. So it seems like it was filmed that week, like with that script. Be interesting to see the first draft of that script. I don't have access to that.
I think that was always part of the episode, because Beverly's express purpose in that scene is to go to the bridge and to hammer home to the audience what they're up against with this plague, that they need this vaccine so desperately. She goes and harangues Picard about, we need to get this vaccine. We can't replicate it. We can't. It's again one. I feel like trying to address, like, people like me who are watching, saying, why can't you have replicators? Why can't you just synthesize a vaccine? Its chemical composition. It's not like that's a mystery. Oh, we can't because it's unstable. She went in there to give more excuses for the show to keep happening the way it was happening. That's the way I looked at it. So it was an opportunity to have Wesley lurking in the turbo lift. Like, I know he said I couldn't go on the bridge, but and it was, I kind of like that, because he's a smart kid.
On the bridge, Captain.
Yeah, exactly. So he's just like, I didn't break your rules. Yeah. And and so I did actually quite enjoy that bit.
What I liked about that part of the episode where Beverly's in the ready room is she was still giving Picard the undrunk but still flirty interaction between them. They seem more familial than they did in later episodes, and more casual, let's say. And maybe Picard was more cold to her this time than when he was skipping and waving. But Beverly still was on a more casual basis with him while she was trying to convince him of why the vaccine was so important. And also, we're judging the 1987 vaccine from 2024 when we know, well, in the 87, vaccines were parts of life forms that we needed to find and use. Now we just design vaccines with computer technology in 2024. So I think that's something that is a product of its time, and there's no magic biological thing that we know of so far that can't be replicated with our new vaccine technology. But
I didn't even consider that.
One thing they keep mentioning about all these people dying, and it's a vaccine. Now, how vaccines work is they train your immune system to defend itself against a virus before you get infected with that virus, because the vaccines were famously invented or discovered because people that had previously had cowpox, most notably people who milked cows and caught cowpox from cows, did not die from smallpox. So someone, I forget the name of the scientist, put together that if you had cowpox, you would not die from smallpox. So let's all inject cowpox pus into us, and that's how vaccines were born. So vaccines wouldn't save those millions of people that are dying. Just it would save the people that haven't gotten infected with it yet, unless it's some kind of magic vaccine I don't understand, or they're using the term incorrectly, or we don't understand how they use the term in the future.
I think maybe they could just say that it's raging through the population. We can still save this many people.
Okay.
So maybe it could be that. If you're going to put it in terms of how vaccines actually work, I mean, we just had a couple of years to learn all about it, or not. And
I did. I got my booster. Yeah. Did you ever see Rennie's video and mine video? We did a dance video on that.
No, I haven't seen it. So
maybe we'll put
that up. We'll put that up on the bonus on the bonus. I told you I don't watch YouTube stuff. If you put it out as a podcast, I would have listened to it.
It's worth the $10 a month. It's worth the $10 a month if that's what's stopping you. Commercials and hassles with screens closing and stuff. It's worth the $10 a month.
Yeah, no, I think we have YouTube Prime. Laura gets it because there are a couple of shows she loves. So
I couldn't do YouTube without the Prime. Anyway, I think there would have been 15 commercials in our show right now before then, but so that was always weird to me because I didn't understand they need a vaccine. Maybe they were just using the word vaccine because instead of cure, I think if they use the word cure, it would have been less specific and more understandable. Like Felicium.
All right, yeah.
But like what? Felicium. That's in another episode.
Oh, okay. So where do we go from here? I mean, I have so many more thoughts and things.
Okay, I want to know your thoughts because I know I'm supposed to hate this episode, but I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
I'm going to point to something you should hate in this episode.
Thank you. Please.
The most anticlimactic, horribly choreographed, flaccid fight scene you have ever seen in your life. You are a fan of WWE.
Sometimes yes.
You were a heel. You were a ref.
Manager. I was a referee.
You know what these things like. What this was the worst, most boring fight with. It was like monkey bar battle to the death. Like what was this? What was the point of all these dumb bars that they have to go around and? Urena,
some of them would burn you and others wouldn't. And
Urena with all of these needless twirls and moves and literally like Tasha standing over here and Urena's just like doing acrobatics in preparation for the battle, but she's not actually attacking her. And then when she does, it's just like the stupidest, slowest.
It wasn't quite Kirk Fu. It wasn't quite.
Yeah, I'm just, if you're going to have your episode hinge on a battle to the death, maybe try to make that battle to the death at least watchable. Not even interesting, just watchable.
This is my thought on it. It's growing pains because it's a new show, and it was a different time. And I think they did not have a fight coordinator. They did not have a stunt coordinator coordinate the fight like we do now. Like we learned from our other show we talk about, Quantum Leap, the fight coordinator and how they go over for weeks at a time and they do the choreographing. None of that was done here. It's like they got on set and they said, okay, you people fight. And that's all that happened. And yes, there were stunt persons, but there was no coordination, or it wasn't planned. I don't think it was planned. I think it was like an improvised fight, like you would see on maybe a high school play or something. It was definitely, and it's not up to Denise Crosby or the guest star who played Yarina to come up with the moves of the fight. I think it was the people who organized the episode to hire a stunt coordinator to choreograph the fight, and I don't think that was done. If it was done, that stunt coordinator should not be working in Hollywood.
Yeah, I'm sure that there have been books written about this. So anybody in the comments,
let us know.
Let us know, because I have a hard time believing that there is a fight on screen on a TV show that's spending money shooting that isn't choreographed in some way. I can't imagine that entire thing was ad-lib, because the way you have to set up shots for fight scenes, there is so much planning that needs to go into something like that. It's so intricate.
It was bad. It was so bad.
I'm not saying it was good. You could also plan something and it sucks, but I think that there had to be some level of planning in it.
Also, you gave away my alter ego, the Weatherman. People aren't supposed to know I'm the Weatherman.
I never said your name. I just said you were a heel.
Damn it. Did you Bugs Bunny me?
You gave away your own alter ego, Mr. Miss Fiddleflick. I got you to say your own name.
Man. I carry an umbrella and I hit people with it. That's what I do for fun. It happens. Yeah, the fight scene was not my favorite. If you're comparing it to a mock time, it failed miserably.
Yeah, I mean, the Amok Time fight scene is incredible. It's just like everything about it sings.
That being said, the poisonous spikes gave it more danger, because you didn't really have to be good at fighting. You just had to get one of those spikes in your opponent. And
you just had to get it hidden.
Yeah, I just found it strange that everybody was handling those spiky gloves willy-nilly when just accidentally touching one of those spikes could have killed you. They're like, careful, that could kill you. And they're just like, yeah, interesting. I'm like, no, don't touch it. It could kill you. And just my thought. If something said, if you touch the wrong part of that, it'll kill you, I'm not going to touch it. Just saying.
Well, yeah, I guess again, just a more misguided stuff that you just have to put up with in the episode, because it does make very little sense that they would have these weapons and not even tell Tasha that they're poisoned. What if she touched one of those spikes? When they brought him in, they just said, here's your weapon, choose one. And it's up to Geordi to say, and Data to say, we've done scans and they have alkaloid poisons and traces of blood on them. So they didn't even inform her that they were poisoned and dangerous.
Cultural differences. When you're served a Caesar salad, you're supposed to know that it has anchovy paste in it, but people from other cultures might not know.
I think there's a difference between deadly alkaloid poisons and anchovies,
but not much. Not much.
How dare you impugn anchovies in such a way, sir? That's it. I quit the show.
I do eat Caesar salads. That's my only seafood I ever eat is Caesar salads, but I can't eat fancy ones, only homogenized, processed.
Oh, no. When I get a Caesar salad, I order extra anchovies on the side. No. I love me my anchovies.
I think he tried to order anchovies everywhere we went.
I know. Give me more anchovies. Oh, anchovies. I'm going to go down and get some anchovies.
Eyeballs. But that's me. That's our culture. That made me think of the episode of South Park that is kind of like this, where it's don't judge other cultures. To me, this is what this means. Don't judge other cultures by your own. What they were trying to do, I think. I don't know if you saw that South Park episode about how our culture eats cows and chickens and other cultures eat dolphins and dogs or something like that.
I might have seen it. I don't recall. I mean,
might be misremembering
Sounds like something
it,
Trey would do. Yeah.
but it's all about what you're raised with. We would never eat dogs. We would never eat dolphins, but we have no problem ordering a steak. And in other cultures, that would be horrible to do. So
Yeah.
culture. Respect other people's culture, but when they step over the line and it hurts your people, then do something about it. I don't think Picard was seasoned enough to do what he did in First Contact or Insurrection.
Oh, okay. I mean,
he's learning as he goes, so I'm gonna give him the pass on that one. But he did end up solving the problem, right?
Only because, only because they came up with their own. It was like the Sting, It's like we came up with our own double cross. We're going to double cross the double cross, and
right. And
it's not even fun.
Lutan got his in the end, which I don't think was part of the plan. But I think the plan was whichever one dies in this fight to the death, we're not going to let them die. So maybe that's why we're judging this harshly, this fight to the death, when the whole time Picard said, death in your culture is dead, but in our culture, we just bring them back to life. So maybe he knew that
I don't buy it. Nope. No, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Am I a next gen apologist? Is that what's going on?
Yes. I don't know what the hell you're talking about now. You're just saying words.
I am just saying words. And hopefully I'll edit them together and post to make sense. We'll see.
I don't know. I think you're giving the episode too much credit. And you know what? Listen, I do that too, especially if it's something you like or whatever. You want everything to fit in with the characters, with the universe, even if it's first season Growing Pains episodes, you have to account for the character's actions because it's still the character. So why would Picard act this way in season 1 and be such a different character in season 6? Well, that's just natural evolution of a show.
Yeah.
Or natural evolution of a person, of a crew, but the ideals like
being Locutus will change a person.
I guess so, but
living a lifetime in the inner light will change a person.
I don't know. I just feel like these are Growing Pains things, and they're still finding the characters. To wit, we would be remiss if we do not talk about Troy in this episode. She was like freaking proto-Vulcan in this episode.
More alien-like. I noted that. More alien-like than normal. Yes.
Like almost
it was a Betazoid, and that was a big deal, which later on it's not. It's just an accent.
But it's also like she's also betraying trust because she's telling Picard left and right what everybody's feeling, to the point where she even grasses out Yar. And she says, but no, you're really sexually attracted to him too, aren't you? And she's like, Deanna, we're friends. And she masks it. She kind of couches it and saying, well, we need to understand every aspect of this. But do we? It's almost like victim blaming. Well, you are sexually attracted to him. Well, what difference does that make? That means he can kidnap me? Are you saying that I'm somehow complicit in this?
The attraction, the mutual attraction was okay until one of them violated the other one's rights.
So, but I mean, another place where it's misguided, and it does Deanna a great disservice. Someone who I think is one of the best characters in the franchise is done very poorly in this episode too. And again, it's the Growing Pains. We're trying to figure out what it means for her to be a betazoid, half human. So what are her sensibilities going to be? And they wrote her so completely alien in this, and so completely for the goddess of empathy, for Reg's, platonic ideal and romantic ideal, really.
I am Reg.
Yeah, but for her to be so callous and calculating with this, as just like, I'm going to be the emotional scorekeeper here. So I'm just going to broadcast what everybody's feeling. Your innermost private thoughts, Captain needs to know. Screw you. And it's just like, wow, that is what stood out to me most on the second, because I didn't notice it when I watched it the first time because I didn't really know the characters yet. But with the benefit of now knowing them much better, that was a real shocker to me.
Is it fair to judge these episodes with all the hindsight and all the future knowledge we have? I don't know.
And
I'm not sure.
And I think we've touched upon whether or not we can. I know that it was easier for me coming from a real basis of ignorance for a lot of this stuff.
That was my band, that we were all bass players. It was a very short-lived band. because I couldn't play, so I didn't even plug into the amps. I just kind of like this. But then everybody else was doing the exact same thing. So none of us could play. We just all had bass guitars. Many bands I've been in.
Oh, you win Treksploration. You just win. That's it. Oh my god, you are hilarious.
One thing that bumped me in universe about this episode, in universe, because out of universe, the whole thing bumps you, right? But in universe, I'm trying to concentrate on when Data beams up to let Riker and Troy and Beverly Riker and Beverly know in the transporter room. Okay, we're going to do the plan, and Picard didn't want us to risk the communications being intercepted, and they're like, okay, now how do they know the plan if it wasn't communicated from the planet already? And what's Data actually doing there?
Got me. I didn't even make that connection.
It doesn't make sense. None of that makes sense.
I was too busy being incensed that Tasha was going to fight to the death for no apparent reason.
Oh, my money's on Tasha. Any fight to the death, my money's on Tasha, unless she's going up against some kind of tar creature. But when would that ever happen?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's so far fetched.
Nobody would roll that die a 0 on that turn, or a 1. I don't even know the die.
Well, man. I don't know.
But I don't know. The episode has good music. It's a beautiful production value. I enjoyed the actors. I enjoyed what the story was trying to do. It is cringy in many parts, and definitely growing pains. This is what, 4th episode, which is really the 3rd episode.
Yeah,
it's a 3rd episode of a series. I
have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
This is something. Do you think it would have been more interesting if they'd kept some of this stuff with Data when he said? What you said it before, including Kittleys, and then Geordi's laughing, and he said, "But it was just a slip of the tongue." Mm-hmm. How could an android have a slip of the tongue?
Yeah, I thought that. There's no way.
Right? It's the same way an android can get infected with the
virus,
the Naked Now virus.
Naked Now virus. Yeah. Slip of the tongue, because as we know, 0.07 seconds is an eternity. He had an eternity to control his tongue and not let it slip. Yeah. But it was funny. And I've told that joke a bunch and nobody gets it, including the kids. Did I? I don't know. Joke number 662, which later on, joke number 663 isn't so funny.
664 though is basis of ignorance, and that one killed. That one bowled him over in Boise. That went over big.
But I think if nothing else, this inspires Data's journey to learn comedy and hang out with Joe Piscopo.
So thank God for that, huh? So, there is one more factor in this. I mean, Data's a good way to get into it, but he says to Geordi or to Picard, I don't know. He said, explain why it isn't funny. And Geordi's like, I can't. Either it's funny or it's not. And then Data says, the human equation. It always comes back down to that. And I cringe when I hear that. I brace. I get like all ready for one thing I can't stand about Next Gen, and especially in the first seasons, but it gets even more smug as it goes on. Once again, applying that human value set, that human, like the godsend that is humanity, to spread among the stars, is just, to me. I've said this so many times in so many different ways that I'm at a loss for words. It's the most annoying part of Next Gen to me. It just becomes so smugly human centered that, of course, we always come at it from a basis of course we're right, because humanity is the most noble aspiration for any culture, for any being, to be more human. And that's always kind of been the Star Trek message. But I feel like in TOS, it was more about embracing secular humanism. Yes. And just the knowledge that it's only us. And we only have ourselves to rely upon, and only have all of our improvements, all of our progress is going to be through acknowledgement of the fact that we're only human. Whereas Next Gen takes that and kind of twists it and perverts it to humanity becoming the ideal by which everything else must be judged. And that is, I don't think I've ever put it in those terms before or made that juxtaposition before. So thank you for inviting me on this show, because that's the first time I've ever really articulated it to myself, the difference and why it annoys me so much. In TOS, it was a striving. In TOS, it was a goal for us who are out there among the stars with only ourselves to rely on. In TNG, it becomes the standard by which we need to judge everybody's struggle, by which we need to judge everybody's progress. And I don't like that. And I think maybe that's why I love DS9 so much when it came on, because it was almost a repudiation of those ideals, saying, but what does a Ferengi care about that? You know, what does a Cardassian care about that? They don't give a shit about your lofty ideal. They want to conquer, you know, not Beta. They want to conquer
Bajor.
Thank you, Bajor. Yeah, I would get there.
Yeah,
but you know what I'm saying. And I feel like they start dabbling with it right from Encounter at Farpoint, and they keep bringing it up here as Data being sort of like the vehicle to once again hammer home what would become something that I find just so cloying about Next Gen. But maybe, and that's a Chris thing. But I feel there is a marked difference between the striving of the TOS and the complacency of TNG.
We're talking what, 100 years later? Just about? At
80. I think to say 80 years later. Yeah.
Okay. So somewhere in that time, I think they changed from striving to just assuming that they had made it, maybe, with the secular humanism.
I mean, I guess. I don't
but
know.
I will be on the lookout.
I find that a lot less interesting.
It is a lot less interesting, and that's what a lot of the writers had trouble with, because everyone was supposed to be all perfect now. So yeah, I'll keep on a lookout for that. But I understand your opinion on that. So, but yeah, Deep Space Nine is a total departure from that, and that's maybe one of the things that makes it so good, because we have a better understanding, and it's not just about humans and how we're superior to everything.
And yeah, but I mean, it's also what might make it bad to some people, because I understand that TNG for the vast majority of Trekdom is the sweet spot. It is the apotheosis of Roddenberry's ideal, and everything that it was supposed to represent, TNG embodied. So I get that. And if you love that, I'm not dumping on you for loving that. I just find it distasteful, quite frankly. I find it very hubristic and self-centered.
Sheer hubris.
Yeah. That's the second time I used hubris in this. Oh. Sorry.
No, I think it's real though, because I think every culture does that. Every culture assumes that they're right. And why should the culture of the 24th century Federation not think that they're right? And they're all in this naval organization, this Starfleet. They're not just humans on Earth. We're not seeing much of them right now in Star Trek during this era yet. But we're talking about military people that all are pretty much in line, in lockstep with their ideals. So maybe that's where the difference is.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Like you said, they had 80 years to sort of grow into themselves. So, yeah.
But the wanting is better than the having.
That's
the striving to do better is better than assuming you are better.
All right. Where was that from? Which episode was the wanting? The wanting is sometimes better than the having.
I'm not sure, but I live my life that way, and it's so true. It's so true. The stuffed animals in the claw machine are so much more valuable than when you actually have them in your hand.
Yeah, and you realize, oh my God, this is some cheap.
Yeah, what am I going to do with this? So I think at this point, what do we do now? We go to our final thoughts and ratings on this episode.
Well, I mean, you always do we do that at the end after
I
the
don't know.
Trek?
What's next in the
You know
rundown? I
what?
wanna
No,
go by your
because
rundown.
I tell you what. No, I screwed up.
What?
Oh no, we
Okay.
did. No, we were going to do the final thoughts at the very end. I think that's what we're
Okay,
going
we'll
to
do
do with
that
the
at the very
disco
end.
show.
Yes.
So, let's lighten it up. I've really brought the show down.
It's all right,
Who's your
though. It's important to talk about.
who's your
Important to share.
episode crush? Who's your episode crush?
My episode crush is going to be for a little bit of this, I thought maybe Deanna, just because, oh my God, Deanna, you know, Marina, gorgeous. But for this episode, it's got to be Ready Room Breathy Beverly.
We need a T-shirt that says that. Get on that, Scott Madison.
She is my lifelong crush, Gates McFadden.
Gotcha.
100%. So it's going to be hard to beat her. Everyone from now on, from every episode of Next Gen, is in competition with Beverly Crusher. She is just my ideal woman. Smart, beautiful, strong, and loves to do autopsies. So,
all right.
Which
Sounds
also
good.
describes my make-believe girlfriend, Rebecca, that lives in Canada. Who is real.
She likes to do autopsies too, huh?
Yeah, it's weird. I'm not into it because dead people get away from me, you know. But she seems to be into it. So
they get away from you, so they're not quite dead.
Right. Just because she's make believe doesn't mean she's not real. I just want to express that, just so you know. Okay.
Understood.
So that's my crush. Ready Room Breathy Beverly Crusher. Who is your crush of the episode?
Worf.
I don't think he's in this episode.
And that's why I envy him. I'm just crushing on Worf because he didn't have to endure any of this horse shit.
So how did I not ever know that Worf wasn't in this episode until you said that out loud?
Worf is my episode crush. Lucky Worf.
I wonder if he saw this script or saw what was going on and just was like, I'm out. I'm sick. I can't come in today.
Give my part.
I got to do the Chips reunion. I can't come in today. I don't know. Okay. Wow. Okay. Worf. Is that allowed? I don't know. Yarina was in the running too. But you know.
Oh, no, it's allowed.
Okay.
I can do anything. Okay. It's my show. It's my show.
So Worf is your crush in this episode, and mine is Beverly. Okay.
Breathy Beverly.
Breathy. No, Ready Room.
Breathy
Beverly, right?
Breathily. Breathily, my good man. What was your favorite part of the episode?
My favorite part of the episode was probably to do with the bridge scene with Wesley actually sitting at the con, and the feeling that I got when Riker and Picard and Wesley were all on the same page as to, I think this is where we're going with this. We're accepting him into our group. You know, he's part of our tribe now. And I just like that feeling because, you know, I was Wesley back then. So they were letting me on the bridge in that scene. So that was my favorite part of this episode.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yours?
Yeah, if I had to point to a positive part, like I could just make the hack joke. Well, of course, the closing credits were my favorite part. But no, I think it was the Wes stuff. My favorite part was Wes like kind of hiding in the turbo lift and sort of sneaking peeks around the corner and like I didn't set foot on the bridge. I didn't do it, but God, I want to be there so bad. And yeah, I for whatever reason that resonated with me. I really liked it. So. Mm-hmm. Any 47s in this?
I don't think so. I think it starts later. Maybe season 2, season 3. We'll see. I'd say we just not worry about it until they come hopping out of the screen at us.
Gotcha.
But always be on the lookout.
All right. Are you ready? Are you ready to step into, I would call this the accelerator chamber on the old boy segments, but it was for trivia and I always forget to take out my trivia card. So I'm going to.
Ooh, you're asking me this time?
Yeah, you asked me last night.
All right. I will put you on our disco show we recorded.
Yeah, the disco show. You asked me.
Okay. Cool.
So, and I think I got 3 out of 3.
Yeah, you did good. You got them all. All right, I'll put on my thinking cap.
Put on your. I can't even think of something funny. All right.
I may not be a smart man, but I know what Star Trek is.
Thank you, Forrest. All right.
Don't get me started on Jenny. Don't get me started on Jenny.
Jenny. What name, oh, Jesus Christ, does Lieutenant Commander LaForge give the Borg drone designated as third of 5 in the Next Generation episode, I, Borg?
Hugh.
So hack. I know you're going to know this one.
Okay.
In the Voyager episode Vis-a-Vis, who says that advanced subspace geometry was the only class he paid attention to at Starfleet Academy? I have a guess.
Mine would be a guess too, but I'm going to say Tom Paris.
Sounds like Paris, right?
Yes, it does sound like him.
Tom
I haven't
Paris,
watched Vis-a-Vis in a while. Yeah, now I need to watch that tonight.
It is Tom Paris. So
cool. Tom Paris.
And after playing the charitable Edith Keeler in The City on the Edge of Forever, this actress went on to star as a less than kind character on Dynasty. Name the actress.
Joan Collins.
Joan Collins.
I have the action figure, and I used her character's name, Edith Keeler, as a reference, as a direction, very often. If I ever cross the street, I always tell Rennie, if like say I'm going to get the mail, which the mailbox is on the opposite side of the street, I say no Edith Keeler, and she goes, "I'll stay here."
Okay,
she knows
that's kind of morbid.
In case after me, yes, but hey, it works. It's a shorthand that works. I say no Edith Keeler, and she stays in the driveway.
She doesn't get run down by a delivery truck.
Right, with the horn going 2 miles an hour. I picture like I'm glad they don't show it because I picture like something out of the steamroller scene from Austin Powers where he's like, no, she's like, I'm walking slowly up. There's a car coming. I wonder what I'll do.
So anyway, let's put it this way. So when Rennie,
Joan Collins, 3 out of 3.
3 out of 3, and when Rennie inadvertently causes World War III, I won't blame her. I'll blame you.
Worth it. World War III. If I had to choose between Serenity and World War III, I'd choose Serenity. Yes,
I would too.
100%. 100%.
I would too. So this is our Trek and Tell.
My record's intact, right? Perfect.
Your record's intact.
Perfect.
Actually, yeah, I think that we're both pretty good. I think there was one that it was the ship that went to Sigma Iosha in Piece of the Action. We couldn't remember the name of it. I believe it was the Horizon, and neither of us got that.
Now we know. We learned.
Yeah. And Sigma Iosha too. I couldn't remember Sigma Iosha either.
Oh, we got that. We got that.
So you said that you have a Trek and Tell this time.
I do have a Trek and Tell. I should have, I thought about this afterwards. I should have brought this Trek and Tell for our last episode we did of Disco, but I have a Michael Burnham action figure.
Why would you do that? You hate Michael Burnham.
It's true. I dislike Michael Burnham. But I love Star Trek action figures. So I think now that this was a Target, this is available in Target right now, by the way.
But that's like second season Michael Burnham.
It is.
We're gonna say Michael Burnham classic.
Right. They don't have the Burger King red outfit of Burnham yet. And I think even the Mego looking Michael Burnham action figure is still in this outfit also. It's like they never made a next one. Hopefully Playmates will, because I want to see the season. It's weird that I'm buying her action figure, right? I don't like the character. But it might have a Star Trek addiction. I don't know. I moved into a space station, but like I might have softened a lot on Michael Burnham with the past episode. What was it called we just talked about last night?
Strange Facers, Face the Strange.
Fight the Strange?
Face the Strange.
Face the Strange. I still have it wrong. So
Strange
I figured out
Facers.
The Michael Burnham action figure. If you're a fan of Michael Burnham or Disco, definitely check out the previous episode we did called The One with the Time Bug.
Yeah, the Time Bug episode. Yeah.
I'm giving each episode a title as we go. So yeah, that's a nice figure, and they have a Saru figure as well. So
that's cool. That's
yes.
cool. So, I mean, now that we've done the first 3 episodes or 4 episodes
Four.
of Disco, right? We are putting that back as bonus content.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
with episode 5 on, it's going to be bonus episodes that you can, if you're part of our crew, as low as $5, I think, a month to join our paid Patreon, you'll get access to all those shows. So
yeah, I have to say, the last show we did about Disco was one of the best discussions I've ever had about Discovery, and it was just so much fun. So I want to thank you for that. And if you guys out there listening or watching haven't seen that one yet, I'm really proud of that show. I think that it, for whatever reason, we were just clicking. And we found our footing on that one, and we've never really discussed Discovery to that depth before. So I feel like it's setting the stage for a lot more fun for the rest of the season to come, and for the culmination of the series. The series is ending. So
originally that was supposed to be our first bonus episode for our patrons only, but I think it was so good and we're so excited about it. I just wanted to share it with everyone. So that's a bonus of the bonuses for everyone. So check that out. And then
check it out.
Check out our Patreon so you can follow us along with us with the rest of the season of this Disco. If it's anything like this past episode, I'm excited. I know next week is something to do with mirror universe, maybe.
We'll see. I don't know. This mirror something. So
I know things, but I don't want to spoil you because I know you don't like spoilers, Chris.
Oh, I don't know anything. So shut up. Shut your face.
You might want to stay up that night and watch it. I don't know. 3 a.m. You could do it. You got
so much work.
You got a day job. I just do this for a living. So
I know, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch.
Although you're more successful than me. So
all right. Well, we'll tell everybody where they can find all that great stuff. Yes, it's patreon.com/Treksploration, and you can become a Treksplorer over there with us on Patreon. You can also see a lot of great stuff right here on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Treksploration. And always, always, always tell us what you think of not only the episodes, but our takes on the episodes and how we're right and how we're wrong, how I'm right, how Albie's wrong. You can find us at Instagram, at Treksploration Pod, on Twitter at Treksploration. You can email us treksplorationsPod@gmail.com, or you can comment on the YouTube channel. You can comment on the Patreon feed. Any way you want to reach us, please reach us. Should I start giving out the number? Should we repurpose the QLP number?
I think so. As long as you check the voicemail, I think you should give it out.
Okay.
And mention what show it's for.
Yeah, we have to change the
I don't know how. I'll let you do that.
I'm gonna have to.
I'll do that. I'll send that to you.
Yeah, I don't know. We have to figure out how to do it, but
just call that number and it's us.
Yeah,
but we don't.
The funny thing is, I've said that number 17 million times when I'm promoting on the Quantum Leap.
847 is part of it.
Maybe we'll give it out next episode when I have it on the rundown. I know.
707-847-6682.
There you go. Albie just did it.
That's from classic QLP days. How did that stay in my brain?
I don't know. I don't remember any phone numbers anymore except for my parents and my sisters, because everything is right here in my phone. So
I know mine and I know Serenity's, and that's it.
That's it. So
because I pay those bills.
So there you go. 707-847-6682. Now that you said it, it's rolling right off the tongue. So
wow, I can't believe I pulled that out of somewhere. Yeah, leave us a voicemail. Send us an MP3, all kinds of things, whatever you want to do. Send us a video. I mean, this is a big new technology since we started doing this podcasting thing a long time ago. Send us your 4K video. 4K, make sure it's landscape, not portrait.
4K, that's future-proofed. 4K.
4K is no K in the future.
All right. So I think it's time we start wrapping up. Give me a final thought, or should I give my final thought and our rating?
The final thought and rating, I think you'll go first this time.
Okay, you got it.
Because I want to give just a little bit of a higher mark than you, but I still want to give it a low mark.
Gotcha. I will say this. I would have given this 0 out of 5 because I really think this episode is in almost every way irredeemable, except for to me, the interesting discussion to be had about the limits and the constraints that the Prime Directive can potentially give you if you're out there in a rough and tumble galaxy and you have nothing but your ideals to guide you. I know this is a conversation that has been had on other podcasts by other hosts, but it's the first time I feel like I've ever explored it. And in exploring it tonight, it helped me realize why I enjoy all the humanity stuff in TOS, but eschew it in Ting. So right
You're the
there,
only person I know that pronounces the letter abbreviations of the series. The first time with the TOS, I was like, 0.0 or what are we talking about? Then I
TOS
got
to
it.
Ting.
Okay. Yes, I got it.
So my final
DS9?
thoughts. So
how do you pronounce
what?
DS9?
Disney. What?
TOS to is voy. I heard you say voy.
Yeah. Voy, yep, voy, ent voy. Everybody knows what we're going to say. So yeah. So at least it led to, in my opinion, a real interesting discussion about broader Trek themes. Would I recommend the episode? No, it's a piece of shit. But there's still good things to discuss about it. So or not good things to discuss about it. It led to discussion of interesting things to me. So I give it one. Come on, where's the joke? I give it one. Kiddly. I give it one kiddly. Thank you.
How do you put mine every time? How? It's the only thing the episode had.
Well, you made me go first, so one snooze, kiddly. You lose. I give it one kiddly out of 5.
One kiddly out of 5. Okay, this episode is good that it exists only to encourage, I think, the discussion of why maybe things were done incorrectly and might be done better in the future. It's a good example of what not to do, maybe. I do like the certain parts of that I mentioned that really could have fit in any other episode that weren't with this episode. I do like Breathy Beverly. It's not my least favorite episode of Next Gen, surprisingly. It's close, but it's not my least favorite. We'll get there. That's I think that's a season 2 episode.
I can't wait.
Yeah, you'll know when we get there.
It's always fascinating to me when you have a least favorite of anything.
Every time that episode comes on, I dread it.
All right, so don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
I won't spoil
it. I'll see as we learn more about our individual Ting fandom. I'll see if I can guess as we get closer.
And this episode has some good parts of the character development of my favorite characters. So that's something redeeming about it. I'm going to give it. One last time. I'm going to give it 2.1. There will be no vaccine, no treaty, and no lieutenant. I think I said it wrong, but you get it.
What's 2.1?
2.1. Just that's okay. That's my score out of 5.
I didn't realize we could do decimals. Okay,
yeah, totally. You could do anything you want. You could go up to 10 if you want. You know,
I could have Worf be my crush when he's not even in it.
Exactly.
There are no rules here. It's a frontier, baby.
I'm not going to skip it. So,
all right. So where do we go from? Like, what are we promoting? Like, I guess stick to the YouTube stuff.
Well, go to the YouTube stuff. We have all of Next Gen is going to be on YouTube. Of course, it's not bonus. It's not on our Patreon. This is for everyone to enjoy, even people that don't like us enough to hang out at Patreon with us. But we're going to be doing Disney, Voy, Ent, Taz. If you know, we're going to be doing those, and a lot of those will start off on our YouTube channel, but then migrate to our Patreon for our crew, because we like to do special things for our crew. So we're going to reward you for being part of our crew. There will be eventually we'll have a members section on YouTube, so you'll also be able to access those same episodes if you're a YouTube member of our YouTube channel.
Cool.
I came up with a weird thing today because I was pulling out my TNG.
It's a family show. This is a family show.
I was pulling out my. I don't have religion.
Stop right there.
I was pulling out my laser discs, right? Because I wanted to look at the Naked Now and Code of Honor, which is unopened. After all these years, it's unopened. And I was looking at it and I was admiring it. It still has like the anti-theft tag. So hopefully nobody steals it from me.
I hope not.
And then I went to go to the next disc, which is The Last Outpost, we thought, because The Last Outpost is the next one up on Paramount Plus. So then I go for episode 5 and episode 6. And if you'll notice,
I can't see it.
If you'll notice, it is Haven and Where No One Has Gone Before.
What about The Last Outpost?
So that is a different production order or a different airing order than Paramount Plus. So I'm like confused as which episode to do next.
I would honestly say it's probably the Laserdisc company didn't have the rights to The Last Outpost or something, or they just didn't include
They're all
it.
out. They're all out. That's on the next disc, I think. I have the whole series on Laserdisc, by the way.
Should we go to the videotape? Do we need to go to Memory Alpha and see?
I think we need to consult a higher authority than us, because I was assuming we were going to The Last Outpost next. Last Outpost does seem like a later episode to me in season 1.
If only I had some kind of device in the palm of my hand that could give me any information I want at the couple of taps of a finger.
For me, I'm thinking I'm going to consult my my collector's edition VHS as well, and also my standard episode VHS of Next Gen. Each has an episode number on the side, the spine of it. But I would think Haven would be next, because right here it says Haven episode 5, air date week of 11. I like how it says week of because it was syndicated. Week of Retnox.
Retnox 5.
Retnox 5.
Well, this one is October 12th, original air date.
October 12th. Okay, this is air date week of 11/30/87. And then episode 6 is Where No One Has Gone Before, air date week of 10/26/87.
Yeah, so 11:30.
So this is not air date. This must be production order. But this is how I viewed it my whole life, production order, I guess.
Don't ask me, man. I just go with what's on the streamers.
Want to do air date, or do we want to do production order?
I think is there a bonus in doing in production? Like, to me, doing the original series in production order is much more edifying. I don't know that
you're edifying.
Thank you very much, sir. But we've discussed that. So where's the episode list here? Come on, damn you.
Even Where No One Has Gone Before. So air dates. So I remember, didn't somebody correct us, send in a correction about I was incorrect about the one episode being off, which would be reunification 1 and 2 of production order versus air order. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I was just like 15 when it aired and I don't remember.
All right. So
what about like
Alpha,
the
TNG
companion, the official
episodes.
companion, or the Nitpicker's Guide?
I don't have any TNG media. All I know is what's streaming and what I find on my phone. You have warehouses full of this shit.
Yes, but it's in boxes and stuff. I don't have my car in the garage because I like Star Trek.
Okay.
Maybe we should open it up to our crew and our discussion, and maybe they can educate us more in comments down below, and we'll figure it out. We don't have to make a commitment right now, but before we record next week or next time, we should know whether we're doing The Last Outpost or Haven.
Yeah, I think we should we suss this out right now?
Okay, we can. It's quality television. Hey, look at this. Have you seen a laser disc? It's like a record, but it's got video on it.
But it's got movies in it.
This is the way to watch TNG.
TNG episodes. Let's see what it says here. This category includes all episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
The Next Generation.
Oh, now it's in alphabetical order. I need it in air
Let's
order.
not watch it in alphabetical order.
Jesus Christ. What are you doing to me, Memory Alpha?
Arsenal of Freedom. Beyond the Farthest Star.
001001000.
Oh, you're right. I messed up.
And then we would have to start with the series finale.
What's a D one? Definitely a D word.
You're a D word.
Dyson Sphere. No, that wasn't the name of the episode. Destruction.
Data's Day. That's
Data's
a double
Day.
D.
A, B,
That's a
C,
double
D, E. What's an E episode? We can do this. Let's go all the way through. I don't care.
An E episode. Okay. Oh wow, Jesus. From anyone? From any?
Any Star Trek. E.
Okay. Enterprise incident.
Okay, good one. F.
F. Far Beyond the Stars.
Ooh, good one. G.
Wow,
People
this is fun.
Shouting at the screen right now. G.
No.
We can do this. We can do this. Good.
The Gamesters of Triskelion.
Oh, you do the after, right? You don't count that.
Yeah, I mean, okay. unless we're stuck for a T.
H. Haven.
That's your favorite.
We'll go back and forth like that game. I did Haven.
You
got to do I.
Jesus Christ, you suck. Borg.
Justice.
JK. K. Wow, that's tough. K. K.
K.
Can I change my I answer?
No.
K can be
the
Kazinthi weapon.
Is that an episode
title? No, it's the slaver weapon.
There is one that I know. If you're not counting the does,
okay, go ahead.
The Killing Game.
Okay, I didn't know that one. So there we go. So K HIJKL.
Let that be your last battlefield.
There you go.
M.
HIJKM. The Magics of Mangus 2.
N. The nth degree. Does that count? I think so. Yeah, the nth degree.
O is no, that would be P. Arman Bashir.
Okay, good one. I like that one. How about Parallels?
Okay. PQ. Cupid.
There you go.
Q.
I was like, oh, that's going to be hard. No, it's not. Reunification.
There you go. RQRS. S. Spock's brain.
Ooh, that's a good one. S.
T.
Oh, and it can't be the though.
Yeah, I have it. Maybe you.
Give me 30 seconds. I can do this. T. Turnabout Intruder.
That you got it. That was mine. That was
really
mine
okay.
Too. So you would be you already said unification. Did you say unification?
Did I said reunification.
Oh, so unification. Parts 1 and 2.
Is reunification an episode?
Oh, unification. Maybe
I'm disqualified.
I don't know.
I have to look at my Blu-rays. Ooh,
okay.
Shouting out. Comment below.
Maybe it is. No, it sounds like reunification is probably it. Maybe unification. Maybe I'm wrong. So maybe I'm disqualified. So you would be
V. I had one.
Wait, did we do you?
I was in New York. You had your chance.
I'm just wondering if unification and not that unification.
If only you had a device and you could look up the title of the episode.
I can't even manage to get the next episode that we should be doing.
Okay,
you should be you.
Are you thinking it? Whose turn is it to think of you? You?
Up. Yeah, I want to say that there's something.
Oh, like, yeah, up. Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, no.
Up the long ladder.
Up the long ladder. That's what I was thinking of. Thank you. Yeah. V could be vis-a-vis. Yeah.
Yeah.
TUVW. Where No Man Has Gone Before. My favorite episode.
Good one. X. Zindi. The Zindi.
That is probably an episode.
The Xindi, right? Yeah, I think so. The first episode of the Xindi arc, maybe.
That I would have accepted Charlie X too.
Ooh, our darling Charlie.
Yes.
First Star Trek
XY.
Why?
Because I like you. How did we get on this?
Ooh, I got a good one for why. I'm not going to give it away. Everybody's yelling it right now at us.
I know. I go ahead.
No, you can do it.
I can't do it. Why?
Are you sure? You can do it.
No, it's not coming.
Yesterday's Enterprise.
Very nice. Very nice.
Ooh, now Z is on me. Is Z on me?
Z. Well, I have a Z, but it's again.
Do you have a Z?
No, not really. I mean, I have. There's a Z in the title.
Oh, it's got to start with a Z though.
Yeah, I know. That's what's tough about it. Is there one called 0 Hour? We'll just say there's an episode
sounds right.
Called 0
That
Hour.
does sound right. Hey Siri, tell me about the episode of Star Trek called 0 Hour.
The episode took 8 days to film and included a larger guest cast than normal for episodes of Enterprise, as well as 2 competition winners. The twist at the end of 0 Hour was originally...
Hello, spoilers. Hey Siri, stop. Thank you.
So there we go. We did it.
So there you go. We got it. 0 Hour. Good job.
Yesterday's Enterprise stumped me.
Is that the one where they destroy Florida? Florida?
Perhaps.
Or is that the last episode of the Xindi arc? It's definitely in the Xindi arc part, right?
Well, that's the beginning of the Xindi arc. It's like the end of episode. It's the end of season 2 that goes into season 3.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Okay. So we don't know what episode we're talking about. Are you still figuring that out? I'll let you figure that out.
Oh, Jesus. I still haven't figured it out. I'm sorry. Hey, we got caught up in the game.
Episode of Star Trek The Next Generation is directly after Code of Honor.
Come on. And this is not good pod. Nobody wants to hear this.
After I finish it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to have to fast forward through a lot of this bullshit.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Code of Honor, The Last Outpost. And this is original air date. So this is air date order. So I say we do air date order and The Last Outpost.
So it is air date order.
Yep.
So that's it. So it's the next one.
So why are my laser discs and VHS off? I wonder why they did that.
Because they suck.
But it's the best way to watch Next Gen until the Blu-rays came out.
It doesn't mean it's a good way.
Okay, so
it's the
next
best way.
is The Last
Outpost. All right.
Which is okay, because I've already made that thumbnail.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And I want to see the introduction of Trek's biggest, baddest villain ever. So
I don't have a line for that episode. I really don't. Do you?
The Last Outpost?
Yeah.
Yeah, we meet the Ferengi.
That's not a line.
It's my line.
The Takan Empire, which is relevant still to this day because the video game that just came out for the PlayStation 5 has a lot to do with the Takan Empire. Believe it or not.
Oh, that's right. Some old dude shows up in this one. They got laser whips, Ferengi, Takans. Oh my. There's our log line right there. Tune in for that next time on Treksploration.
And for Treksploration, I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next time.